Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Ian Douglas Smith, the Prime Minister of Rhodesia, in 1975, predicted that if there was majority rule, the people in town will walk on sewage until they believe it's normal. Well, Ian Smith was a racist. But what he said in that statement has come to haunt us. And we should pay attention to it. In Zimbabwe, we now have a situation where we have been walking on sewage. And we have graduated to drinking it. Drinking sewage. Yes, you heard me. Here is a video clip of the situation in Harare.
Iri ndo tengiredi rekudhara iri rataifamba kudhara apa pakatsemuka apa ndo pakanyorwa naTazani zvaanga akanyora zvezvo ndo pakabva patanga kutsemuka. Saka iri rimwe racho iri tengi iri kari inyuwani but ratotsemuka futi harina time. Saka mvura yese iri kurasa kupinda muino tonhera mamukwisu ikuyerera ibva inopinda mamukwisu mvura izvi. Ndo situation yatinayo kuno Las Vegas. Dhala zvinhu zvakanaka mabhedhisi hazina kana munhu akuni zvangobharukabharuka ndo zviripo kuno kuno.
What we saw in that video clip is the reality in Zimbabwe. The sewage, as you could see in that video clip, has been flowing into the river that feeds one of the main supply of drinking water to Harare, the capital city. That sewage has been flowing into the river for a long, long time, as you could see. Yes, they try to treat the water. If you've got any running water at all, they will have tried to treat it. But some of the heavy metals, the dirt from the sewage is never removed, and people drink it. So we've moved from walking on sewage and thinking it's normal to drinking it. But that is nothing compared to where we are now. We are now at a point where we actually hero worship the very leaders who are responsible for this mess. It's unbelievable. Here is a video clip of somebody talking about Nigeria and the problem of worshiping leaders.
If you argue, I will still tell you the truth that pastors fear to preach. Nigeria is not just suffering because of corrupt leaders. Nigeria is also suffering because citizens have mastered the art of celebrating failure. Yes, I said it. In this country, when somebody fails woefully, we clap for them like they passed WAHEC with distinction. A leader destroys education, we give him an honorary doctorate. Chai! What kind of spiritual backwardness is this? A man ruins his state, we give him chieftaincy title. A politician empties the treasury, we invite him as special guest of honor. A leader destroys education, we give him an honorary doctorate. Chai! What kind of spiritual backwardness is this? Tell me why a nation will develop when failure is rewarded and excellence is punished. Some of you shouting online, we still vote for the same people because they share 2,000 naira and small rice. You eat the rice today, tomorrow the same bad roads will scatter your car. The same leaders you defend will enter convoy and splash muddy water on you while you trek. What kind of suffering do you enjoy like this? And let me talk to the youths. Yes, you. You mock intellectuals. You insult professionals. You abuse people who speak good English. But you idolize politicians whose grammar is fighting for destiny. You defend leaders who cannot operate email. You clap for people who cannot debate, cannot explain policy, cannot understand the economy. Let me ask a simple question. How can a nation rise when its citizens prefer packaging over competence? In Nigeria, a man with ideas is proud. A man with vision is a too known. A man who asks questions is troublesome. But a man who steals money is a honorable. My people, this is madness. We cannot continue like this. A country that celebrates mediocrity will always produce mediocre results. A nation that shouts, leave him, God will judge, every time a thief is caught, will never progress. And let me shock you, some Nigerians don't want change. They want a better oppressor. They don't want good leadership. They want their own thief to enter office. They don't want justice. They want their tribe to win. Is that how nations develop? Is that how Singapore became what it is? Is that how Rwanda became clean? Is that how UAE became paradise? No. Nigeria is not moving forward because we treat leadership like tribal competition instead of national responsibility. Listen closely. Until Nigerians stop calling thieves my brother, until we stop protecting wickedness because of tribe, until we stop celebrating failure and insulting competence, Nigeria will keep rotating in the same circle, inside the same stagnation, eating the same suffering year after year. My people.
The gentleman was talking about Nigeria, but he might just as well have been talking about Zimbabwe. One of the biggest issues that has been at the heart of why Zimbabwe is a failed state is our failure to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Let me explain this for the umpteenth time. We realized as far back as the late 1990s that Zanu PF will never reform itself out of office. So we decided we are going to elect opposition leaders whose number one task would be to implement the democratic changes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Let that sink in. We have risked everything electing MDC CCC leaders over the last 25 years for one primary purpose. They will implement the reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. We all know Zanu PF rigged the 2023 elections. What happened? Simple. MDC CCC leaders have failed to implement even one token reform in 25 years, including the 5 years in the GNU. This is a fact. And yet some people refuse to accept it. We cannot pretend we have a problem here. They still want to refer, no, the problem is Zanu PF. Yes, Zanu PF is the primary problem. But we elected the opposition to implement reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. And now what the opposition is doing is they fail to implement the reforms, even when they had the greatest opportunity to do so during the GNU. And ever since the GNU, they've been conning people to participate, to continue to participate in flawed elections. lying to them that the opposition was going to win. Hashtag God is in it. And we believed it.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifo iri. Plan yaMwari haifo iri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Let me repeat this. If we are serious about ending Zimbabwe's economic and political mess, then we must stop Zanu PF rigging 2028 elections. Failure to stop them, we must make sure that they do not get away with it if they rig the elections. Stopping them, I believe, is too late. We should have implemented the democratic reforms, but failed to do so. What we can do now is make sure that Zanu PF does not get away with another rigged election. And the sure way of doing that is making sure we do not participate in the flawed elections to give the regime legitimacy. SADC and the AU election observers condemned Zimbabwe's 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. They know that not even one token reform has been implemented, and the regime is preparing to take us into the next election. And the same opposition that conned millions to participate in 2023, telling them that they have plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, Zanu PF was not going to rig those elections, are now gearing to tell the same lie and con millions to participate in 2028. This is nothing technical. This is not a technical problem. This is a fairly straightforward issue. Why would you participate in an election process which is so flawed, so illegal? The only logical thing to do is to withdraw. This is not me saying that. MDC leaders like David Coulthard have admitted as much. And he has also admitted that the only reason why he and his colleagues have continued to participate in flawed elections is greed. The problem is us, the people. We have not opened our eyes to realize that we are being conned to participate in a flawed process because the opposition leaders are greedy. That is not rocket science. Don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand the sheer futility of believing an idiotic lie. And to make matters worse, even when after the elections, everyone acknowledges that the elections were rigged, you still refuse to accept that Chamisa is a liar. Beggars belief. We cannot keep on going round and round in circles. Ian Douglas Smith was a racist, but we cannot deny that he was right when he said, if blacks rule themselves, they'll be walking on sewage and think it no more. We've done that. We have now sewage leaking into our drinking water, and we continue to drink the water. And the men responsible for making sure those sewage pipes were repaired are paying themselves unbelievable salaries. A town clerk, a mere town clerk, getting 27,000 US dollars per month. The mayor and his friends, over 30,000 US dollars per month. And meanwhile, we have sewage leaking straight into the dam from which we all drink. And we continue to worship those people. Nations get the government they deserve. We can't say we do not deserve this corrupt, incompetent, and murderous Zanu PF dictatorship, complete with his MDC CCC sidekick. I think Ian Smith, if he was alive today, even he would be surprised that we've managed to go from walking on sewage and think it normal, to drinking sewage and think it normal, to now worshipping those who are crapping all over us. All in 45 years of independence. We've achieved it. And nothing is going to change until we open our eyes and do something about it. You mentioned that Chamisa lied. Some people get really agitated. They cannot accept it. You become public enemy number one. I think we need a few more people who are willing to stand up and saying, okay, I'm public enemy number one. The fact still remains that Chamisa lied and conned millions to participate in the flawed elections. The biggest challenge of our generation is making sure that Zanu PF does not rig 2028 election and get away with it. That is the biggest challenge of our generation. We can achieve it. All we have to do is persuade those who were easily conned, who continue to worship the failed leaders, as the pastor was talking about here, and call them national heroes. Think about it. Thank you. Have a good day.